Hi, welcome back. This is day 4 of Buying a Home with Nysha. So yesterday we covered what the broker duties are that each broker has to both parties in the transaction. Today we're going to talk about what are the duties that the brokers have individually to the buyer. As the buyer's broker, that means what duties do I have to you, and what duties does the seller's realtor have to the seller. Okay, so number 1 in a nutshell, it says that I'm here to help you get your written offer, your counteroffer done in a timely fashion and to help you comply with all the terms and conditions of the contract. As your realtor, I am an expert in this contract and I know all the deadlines, I know the ins and outs of all of this, how to get it done, who to talk to. I have all of that information at my fingertips, and it's my job to help you. I don't need to make you understand it. I just need to get you through it. That's my job. And we're going to have a good time with that. Number 2, acknowledgement by the broker that there may be matters related to the transaction that are outside the broker's knowledge or expertise, and that the broker will suggest that the parties seek expert advice on these matters. For example, if you ask me, hey Nysha, what does this mean for my taxes? Well, I'm not a CPA. I don't know. You should go talk to your tax advisor. If you say, hey, does it have a good roof on this house? Well, I've learned a few things, but I'm not a roofer. And so I'm going to say, if you have questions about the roof, let's get a roofer out here to have a look at that roof. Okay? Number 3. Advise to consult with an attorney regarding the effectiveness, validity, or consequences of any written document generated by the brokerage or presented to the party and that has the potential to become an express written agreement. If you ask me, what does this mean in a court of law? I'm going to say, let's have you talk to your attorney because, again, that's not my profession. I'm not an attorney and I can't tell you the legalities of things. Number 4. Prompt accounting for all money or property received by the broker. I will probably never touch your money. Your earnest money will go directly to the title company. You can deliver that yourself in person, or you can even do it online. A lot of them will take a wire deposit. So there's no reason for me to touch your money. Number 5. Number 5 is maintenance of any confidential information learned in the course of any prior agency relationship unless the disclosure is with the former principal's written consent or is required by law. So anything you tell me in confidence will stay secret unless you put it in writing or I'm required by law to disclose it. And that goes with the seller's realtor too. So they're not going to give away too much information unless they have to. Written disclosure of brokerage relationship options available in New Mexico. There are 3. We have exclusive agency, dual agency, and transaction broker. We're going to cover that a little more thoroughly in the next section. But for right now, I'm going to tell you, primarily we do transaction brokerage here. I work as a transaction broker. Basically means that I am facilitating the transaction. I have a non-fiduciary relationship. And so my job is just to get it done. I don't make decisions for you. That's what agency is about. You see, we have exclusive agency and dual agency, but I don't make decisions for you. I will always come back to you and say, here are your options. What do you want to do? Okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next section. Number 7. Unless otherwise authorized in writing, a broker who is directly providing real estate services to the seller shall not disclose the following to the buyer in a transaction. So there are a couple things here. Now, we can ask, but they probably aren't going to tell. And number 1 is that the seller has previously indicated that he or she will accept a sales price less than the asking or listed price. So if I were working with the seller and the seller had $1 million listing and somebody said, will they take $2 for it? And the seller told me, hey, I would take $2 for this listing. I still can't disclose that, okay? And so if we ask the other realtor, hey, will they take $5 for this house? Well, even if that realtor knows they would, they're not allowed to tell us unless it's in writing. They're also not allowed to say that the seller will agree to financing terms other than offered. So the seller may, in the MLS, it's going to say that they take, cash, conventional, FHA, VA, whatever. The most common thing that I come up with is people say, will they take a real estate contract? And we don't know without asking, but that realtor cannot tell us that they will or they won't without talking to the seller first and getting that in writing that they agree to that. Okay, they're also not allowed to tell us the seller's motivation for selling. So when you say, why are they moving? Well, the seller's realtor isn't allowed to tell us that information. And then the last one, any other information the seller has requested in writing that remain confidential unless disclosure is required by law. I think that's pretty basic. If the seller has asked for it to remain confidential, then they are not allowed to disclose it unless the law requires them to do so. And then lastly here, unless otherwise authorized in writing, a broker who's directly providing real estate services to a buyer, so me, working with you, shall not disclose the following to the seller in the transaction. I'm not allowed to tell the seller that you would pay more than what we've offered in a written offer. So if their realtor comes back and says, will they take, $5,000, will they agree to $5,000 more than what they've offered? I can't tell them that unless you tell me that I can tell them that. And it has to be in writing. So there you go. I also can't tell them the reason why you are buying or interested in buying that house. I can't say, well, it's because we want the kids to be in that school district, or because you're getting a divorce, or whatever. For whatever reason, I'm not allowed to tell the seller why you're interested in that house unless you put it in writing and ask me to tell them. But even then, we could be violating the I can't think of what it's called, the fair housing laws. So we have to be very careful as far as that goes. And we probably won't say anything. And then, of course, any other information that you've requested in writing remain confidential unless disclosure is required by law. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You asked me to keep it a secret. Unless the law says I can't, then I will. And that pretty much sums up day 4 of buying a home with Nysha. See you tomorrow for day 5. Bye. Oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe. See you tomorrow.